Hajita, I'm here.
Now what should I?
Let me see if I can. Can you see on, there is maybe more or something there? It's already recording, by the way. Huh?
I should. Very good evening to everybody who has joined us. This is an activity from Kerala chapter of Association of Nurse Executives India. And we have with us, this is Tangam Gomes, who is president of ANEI. And also Ms. Aji, who is the president of Kerala chapter. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome, Aji. And we have so far only 17 people who have joined in. So I guess we have waited for 5 minutes. And can we go ahead, right, ma'am?
Yeah, I think we can start with the initial whatever, maybe.
So I think we should respect those who have joined on time. Okay, so good evening once more to everybody. And my first task is to introduce the moderator for the day. And we have a very interesting topic on communication, which is relevant to nurses today. And Aji will introduce the topic and the speaker. And my job here is to introduce Ms. Aji. So Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Mrs. Aji KL. She is a graduate in nursing from Armed Forces Medical College in 1997. And she has done her MSc Nursing in 2004 from College of Nursing Christian Medical College, Bellore. And she has completed her PhD in 2018. While being working in the Armed Forces, she has done clinical postings in the state of Nagaland, in Pune, in Command Hospital, and INHS Sanjeevani in Kochi. And she had assumed teaching posts in College of Nursing AFMC, which is our alumni, and College of Nursing Command Hospital, Calcutta and Lucknow. And she has taken voluntary retirement in last year, 2020. And now she is Professor of Nursing in Medical Surgical Nursing Department in College of Nursing, Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences in Kochi. Aji is very, very enthusiastic. I had known her from her student days and a very dear colleague of mine, and who has a lot of leadership qualities, and very nice to have her as head of ANEI Kerala chapter. So I welcome Aji to preside over this meeting and introduce the speaker and the topic. Over to you, Aji. Thank you. Hello, Aji.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Good evening, ladies. I couldn't see any gentlemen in that list. Welcome to Kerala chapter activity for the month of April. The guest lecture for today is effective communication, core of care. And communication, we know the most, actually the most abusive term in professions and especially in nursing. How to communicate, what to communicate, how to develop soft skill. Every now and then we speak about this. Who should communicate and who should deliver this lecture? We didn't have a second thought. We thought about Ms. Antonia Pushparaj. She is the founder of Jyotirgamayi Integrated Wellbeing Institute, Bangalore, and the chief learning influencer, Prabhuta Leadership and Coaching Academy, Bangalore. If I speak about Ma'am Antonia, I think her time also I will steal, because it is to list down her degrees, it is in numbers. She has got 4 master degrees in MSc Nursing in Pediatrics, MSc in Family Therapy, MSc in Organizational Psychology, MA Literature, a double MBA, MBA in Hospital Management and Total Quality Management, and Diploma in Human Rights, Forensic Psychology. And she is the only one nurse who did her fellowship in ISQA in India. Madam was a prominent nurse leader with more than 27 years of experience in strategic leadership in various renowned healthcare institutions. She is an expert practitioner, educator, trainer, mentor, coach, administrator, researcher, and whatnot. She is NABH Principal Assessor for hospitals, eye hospitals, nursing and emergency services. She is a master trainer of WHO GFATM and Sukshema, a passionate trainer with more than 1,000 training programs to her credit. She has her specialization in policy development and implementation of quality standards in developing countries and an advisor to government of Andhra Pradesh for NABH Assessor Panel. She is a recipient of the prestigious Florence Nightingale State Award. Ma'am is well heard and well seen in Karnataka Radio and Doordarshan, a freelancer, writer, podcaster, and a speaker. So who should deliver this lecture? It should be none other than her. Ma'am, it is my proud privilege to welcome you to this Kerala chapter activity, and we are eagerly waiting to listen to you. Welcome you once again. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That was very kind of you to say such a lovely words about me. At the outset, I would like to thank the president of ANI, Mrs. Tangam Gomez, my very good friend, leader in nursing, whom I really look up to for various inputs, Ajita Nair, and Dr. Aji for giving such a wonderful introduction, and also a very pleasant good evening to every participant, where we are going to share our thoughts about communication. As Dr. Aji said, communication is the most abused term. So before I proceed, I would like to share Dr. Aji, is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible, Anthony.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Give me a moment. Let us come to healthcare communication a little bit later, and communication per se to nursing much more later. But before that, I feel communication is the blood of any human relationship. It is the heartbeat of any system. The great management expert, Peter Drucker, says, the most important thing in communication is hearing what is not said. So that means our 13% of words, whatever we use in verbal communication, they have less implication than the 87% of our gestures and other non-verbal communication, which we try to convey our emotions, thoughts, and feelings to the sender. Also, Rollo May says, communication leads to community. That is to understanding, intimacy, and mutual valuing. I really personally like this quote very much, because to build a very effective and healthy society, communication is very important. And also lasting relationship and that intimacy, trust, and the respect between individuals and the mutual living to have a safer community. Lois Capps says that, now I'm coming specifically to nursing. Nurses serve their patients in the most important capacities. We know that they serve as our first lines in communication when something goes wrong or when we are concerned about health. So this quote, it actually, I would like to dissect into two aspects. One is that nurses are very important in communicating, and they are the important channel of communication between the doctors and management to the patient, one who is the recipient. And also they are very important and key personnel. If anything goes wrong in the way that they communicate, the outcomes also are going to be very devastating. When it comes to nursing, as we are celebrating to a 200th birthday of the founder of Florence Nightingale, founder of modern nursing, Florence Nightingale, nursing is a profession which is bloomed on the greatest human value called empathy, compassion, and kindness. So if it is empathy is the nurturing force of nursing, then empathy is our leading force too. What is empathy? Empathy is seeing with the eyes of another, listening with the ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. But whether we have any therapeutic boundaries for this, whether nurse has to take all the emotions and feelings and negativity what is thrown onto her, on herself, into heart and get suffering, or should she value the human connections and also effectively handle such type of situations? Let us see to it, okay? Nursing, as we all know, that it is the largest human resource in any healthcare delivery. So because it is the largest force, it also touches all the points, like, you have to coordinate your activities with various team members, communities, and your doctors, your nurses, your patients, your leaders, your subordinates, other departments, clinical, non-clinical, supportive departments. So nurse touches all the care points in her nurturing profession. Till then, the corona invaded us. We thought that the traditional methodology of communication did, it was very effective in nursing. We went through that, the traditional methods. But the new normal, when corona hit the world, we had to think. Our approach changed, our communication changed, our way of conveying the message to the people, how we were interacting with people, everything changed. So we became isolated. We were finding words or actions to communicate our emotions and thoughts to the patient. The social distancing also deprived the greatest virtue what we practice with so much of pride, the touch, that is also lost. And we started interacting. Even now also we are interacting with each other on virtual platform. And this really caused a lot of challenges in the value system of communication methodologies of nursing. So, but nurses are resilient. We did have to find a way how to pave or make our own path to reach out to the patient who is kept under our care despite of all these challenges, social distancing. Patients were touch deprived, but still nurse had to communicate her compassionate care to the patient. And hats off to, before I proceed, I really would like to thank with gratitude all our nurses who were there in the front lines, and also the nursing leadership which led such type of mindset of nurses to care for human beings during this pandemic disaster, what we are seeing now. Though second wave is going on, but still hats off to nurses. So our sincere gratitude towards, and we feel proud that we belong to such a profession which stood very strongly with the test of time. So why communication is core of care? So I said it is the blood. We know that it is a fluid connective tissue in our body, and without blood, we can't survive. The same way, the effective communication for any system to function, I think effective communication is very important. And if we focus on the 6 international patient safety goals, the goal 2, it speaks about effective communication. So effective communication, it is like how nurses communicate, maybe verbal, written, telephonic communication, and also communication with patients, and handoff communications between shifts, and also how they take orders from doctors and how they execute those orders, how they communicate to patients during challenging times, and those type of things, which is the second objective of IPSG focuses on. So the core of communication for us to for us to have a very strong and meaningful human connection, and also to coordinate our activities very effectively, and to focus on what we are ought to do with proper nursing diagnosis and also care implementation and evaluation. That focus is very much needed, and nurses need to focus on the outcomes of the patient. And also this communication, it is a very demanding situation, you see. Despite of all negativity, the challenges what a nurse had to face in her care delivery environment, she remains compassionate, she remains calm, she remains focused. It is not a very easy human capability one can have. So you need to practice that. So that is another thing which is very important. And despite of all challenges or all the the blurry path that she has in front of her, she has to have a clarity of vision that maybe through telephonic communication, for example, she might take a critical report from a doctor, but if it is a critical report, then how she reacts to that for better patient outcomes, that is one thing. And decision making, not only the nurse leaders, we are sitting in the room when we are making the decision, that may be strategic decision for nursing department, various decision making the nurse has to do even at the patient bedside. She's a very good decision maker. If patient is having hyperthermia, how she has to manage that. If patient is having hyperkalemia, how she has to respond to that critical report of potassium, and how she has to communicate with the concerned doctor and see to that the patient comes to the normal rhythm of heartbeat. And also collaboration, the collaboration which she cultivates through communication, effective communication, which is based on like a trust. Communication can really breed these beautiful attributes like trust, inspiration, exchange of ideas, and also, your words. Though it is only 13% of our communication, but words can break or make a personality. So if person is going through, maybe she might have committed some mistake. Okay, some error has happened. Always we should remember the first victim is the patient, and the second, we handle that situation, whether we use that situation to build our nurses' morale and also to learn from that mistake and to move forward instead of reprimanding them and also, making them to go through a lot of punitive action, which will have a very negative impact on their life. And also support what we especially give them. When they are really happy and in a very comfortable zone, nobody needs, and it is a very managed way, any individual can manage. But when that support is needed, maybe the support is needed when they need guidance, when they need proper direction, when they are down and when they are depressed, when they are needing help. So that time, the seniors or nursing leadership, if they can pitch in through appropriate supportive attributes, which can be communicated through our actions and words, that makes a great impact, positive impact on the nurses. And also very good communication breeds into success and teamwork also. And employing good communication skills with patients can result in more expedient recovery rates. We know that because I already gave you one example of how critical reports are being conveyed and effective nursing interventions are taken, and how that contributes to the very good patient outcome. Increased reports of feeling safe. So for example, if nurse communicates everything honestly and also with integrity and open communication, frankly, with confidence, keeping the confidentiality of the patient, that really makes the patient feel that, yes, I'm in a very safe place. And higher satisfaction with the quality of care. Because always, your confidence and courage comes with communication. A nurse, one who communicates effectively, can also deliver the care with courage and conviction. This is a well-known fact, and a lot of research is there to support this outcome too, and more likely to follow treatment plans. So if you really look at, if you ask, a patient or a doctor, or maybe, other departmental friends in healthcare delivery, surely they will say that this nurse, she is really very vocal about it, and she expresses and she reports whenever, something goes wrong with the patient. So she is so much patient friendly. This is what the good feedback, what we get about our nurses who really stand as advocate for patients. And we should foster that courage in our nurses. Enhanced reputation. And though people say that nurses are face of the hospital, heartbeat of the hospital, spine of the hospital, they are face of the hospital, but I feel as a nurse, the communication, the nurse with courage and conviction and good communication skills, she is the one who is going to enhance the reputation of the hospital, undoubtedly. And less attrition rate. And if we really look at it, communication, it is not only from a nurse, but also if we look at maybe a little bit of basics we will talk about later, communication always moves in different direction. Though you have diagonal direction, diagonal movement of the communication between departments in different type of hierarchy, but in horizontal, in a vertical communication, always it is upward or downward. Then vertical we have maybe nurses communicating with nurses, maybe the nursing department communicating with the management and the housekeeping and security department, or maybe IT department, that can be like grapevine communication. And increased morale. So whenever the nurse makes a good thing also, when she does something right and when she does something wrong, but if we take those opportunities to pat their back and also appreciate them publicly and give them the correction privately in a constructive way without hurting their ego, so-called, we call, though ye should go, but still, when we do that publicly, the nurses, younger generation, they feel it. This is what my experience now working with very many novice nurses, they feel humiliated. They feel rejected. They feel disrespected. They say that you can give the correction privately and we take it. So I think there is a voice speaking to us. We have to correct them in a different way. So now I'm bringing a little bit of nursing concepts. Communication can be defined as a transaction and message creation. So when it comes to transaction, for it to have a transaction, so-called transaction, it usually happens between more than two or more people. So you have your sender, you have your receiver, you have the message, you have channel of communication, you have feedback. These are the basic. The entire process occurs in a context consisting of physical space, cultural and social values, and psychological conditions. This is very important. If we really look at the feedback of our nurses from the patient and other stakeholders, we know that the nurses, they don't know how to speak a particular language of that state, and they do not know how to address international patients, and this is how they dress up, all those type of things. It comes and sometimes even nurses, young nurses, they come and tell, ma'am, I was so much involved in the care, and the mother of the patient proposed me to marry the son of hers. So these are things, then though they are novice nurses, they may not know, they may come and tell us with pride, but we have to make them understand how the therapeutic boundary was actually disturbed. We need to understand, we need to make that. So that is how recently I had that type of experience. I had to tell one of our novice nurses, therapeutic relationship is an important prerequisite to effective communication. This is very important. So therapeutic relation for relationship, therapeutic relationship, nurse and the patient relationship is so divine, and it is so professional, and that type of relationship is very important for one to have a therapeutic communication between healthcare professionals and patients, in order not only to transmit information, but also to effectively address mental processes which are activated by it. So if I'm speaking, you're feeling, what so communication is not just a physical phenomena. It is not just you hear it. That's why, we say there is a difference between hearing and listening, speaking and talking, and also seeing and observing. So it is a lot of, mental phenomena. So basics already I dealt with, like how sender, messenger, receiver, then you have channel communication and feedback. We have different type of barriers for communication. These all are basics, just for us to have a better understanding. In further slides I would like to briefly mention these things. Like we have physical barriers, we have perceptual barriers, and also emotional barriers. When we are anxious, when we are in panic attacks, we are not able to listen what others are saying. So this is very important. Cultural barriers. So how we are going to talk about, that's why cross-cultural training program is also a very important training need which is coming up now. And language barriers, and it is undoubtedly goes a long way, that how much of need is there in that particular area. And a gender barrier. So when we are really interacting between different genders, that is also quite challenging situation. So then interpersonal relationship, that is another defining factor. So we have different types of communication. As I mentioned, you have your verbal communication, you have your non-verbal communication, you have your gestures, you have touch, you have different type of categories of communication is there. So you have this verbal, non-verbal communication, and also you have another type which is aggressive, passive, and assertive communication, and that is also another sort of like thing. So when it comes to the non-verbal communication, because it really contributes nearly to 87% of our total the core of communication, we need to understand the facial expressions what we have, the gestures, the posture, how we sit and how we talk, and physical barriers such as distance. So in communication we teach also the social distance and also personal space, the social space, personal space, and also intimate space. And when I'm using also the pressure, that is very important. The pressure, what did you do? So if I have to say this one sentence, what did you do? This is just one sentence, but I can ask, what did you do? So I'm pressing, what? So what did you do? So that means, I'm stressing on you. What did you do? That means, I'm stressing on the verb, the action. So here, when we are using different type of the pressure on a particular word, we are stressing. So it can convey, oh, you did it. That means, it is communicating. It can be compassion, or it can be, like reprimanding, or you may be sarcasm. Also, we can communicate through the tone of our voice. The touch is very important. The touch, now, because of corona, we are going through a lot of touch deprivation, and touch is the first thing what we experienced when we were born. And the touch of our parents, even if you keep millions of human beings, and if you ask a newborn to identify the touch and smell of the mother, the baby will never fail. So this is the magnificent power of human touch. So this touch deprivation of during corona, which we were considering it as one of our greatest privilege as nurses, that is also being depleted now. So, but still we have to communicate with compassion, and touch can communicate every human emotions, nearly whatever primary three emotions, and which really gives rise to a lot of other emotions. Every emotion can be conveyed through human touch. Silence is very important. So as Gautama Buddha said, if my words have a negative impact on a particular person, then let it go through the taste of my tongue. If it really tastes bad for me, surely it might taste bad for others. So let me swallow those words. So the words can be sweeter, the words can be inspirational, the words can be motivational, and also the words can break people. That's why that is the power of word, but also the power of silence. The silence, it is whenever a difficult situation comes, as we are going through the slides, we will understand. The silence is an important therapeutic communication. Touch can be important therapeutic communication, and also reflective listening or therapeutic listening or compassionate listening can be a very good strategy nurse can practice. Healthcare communication we are going to deal with, and also therapeutic communication. As we said, therapeutic communication is only happens when there is therapeutic relationship. So now let's see, exchange of information. This is what, the nursing therapeutic communication defined in our literature. The nursing therapeutic communication is nothing but exchange of information, thoughts, and feelings among people using speech or other means. Beautifully said. So it is not only information, it can be thoughts. And there are, a lot of scientific this thing. Even if you don't talk, but, still you can communicate your thoughts to a person, one who is sitting in a far distance. Surely, he can conceive or she can conceive what is happening in your thoughts. That is the power of human thoughts. And Eckhart Tolle, he always says that in his books, in his famous book, the power of now. That is the book what he speaks about, the power of silence. We need to practice that. And thoughts and feelings. Feelings like how we that is an emotive aspect of communication. And if person is very happy and you are very sad as a nurse, that doesn't mean that you have to make the patient sad. Here he is a patient, you are a nurse, but still you have to share that joy with the patient. But if you are very happy but the patient is very sad, that doesn't mean that you have to underestimate the sadness of the patient with your joy, the feeling of joy. You need to control your emotions and you have to empathize with the
I guess Antonia got disconnected. I'm just trying to contact her. Hello, just you are on mute, Antonia. I think we lost you for a minute.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
I'm so sorry, that I did not realize that. I'm sorry. till where I was, is it possible for you to help Dr. Ajji? Where did I?
The previous slide, probably.
This is the one?
Yes, this was the last slide.
Yeah. Fine. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that help. So now, yeah, this is what, when we are going forward, we have to understand what type of challenges that we are facing in therapeutic communication being nurses. So we have something called factors, which are related to nurse and patients. Am I audible? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So factors common between nurses and patients, like we have challenges with related to colloquial language differences and cultural differences, and also gender differences. Some are, nurse related factors, like nurses are expected to communicate effectively despite of all challenges or negativity what is thrown unto them. Though they are overworking, shortage of nurses and lack of time, so much of multitasking, all those things nowadays nurses are facing. Patient related factors, like you are communicating maybe, some important information, patient family does not want to communicate, especially we see that when we are communicating breaking bad news. So family interference, patients' unawareness of the status and duties of the nurse. So they think that even, sometimes when I see patients demanding nurses to, feeding the patient is absolutely fine when it comes to, but, asking the nurses to go and get them coffee from the canteen, example, one thing I tell you, it may not happen everywhere. And sometimes nurses are expected to do various other works which are not in their job description. Maybe these are the things. And then anxiety, pain, physical discomfort. Surely when we are anxious, the communication is filtered. Pain, sometimes patients, they say, just leave me alone. And physical discomfort, however you want to communicate, but patient is not in a mental state to listen to whatever you are communicating to. And environmental factors, like critically ill patients in the ward. So how are you going to communicate when when you are imposed by these type of environmental challenges? Hectic environment of the ward. So you have so much to do, but very little time. Over 8 hours, you are supposed to work, multitasking. And that itself, a different topic altogether. But it is an environment which also poses a lot of challenges on nurses to communicate effectively. Unsuitable environmental conditions. Maybe there are many people you can't communicate very sensitive and confidential information, or the patient may not be able to, may not be in a position, or maybe, in a conscious state to understand, and he may not be able to contain whatever information that you are giving. Or sometimes the patient may be all alone, and he is facing a lot of challenges in his personal life, being in the hospital. So these are few things to mention. So when it comes to requirements, what makes an effective communication? This is very nice to know for all of us as nurses. Like, effective communication requires an understanding of the patient and the experiences they express. So first one, we need to have respect for the patient's feelings and also their experiences, however negative it is, however bad it is, but that is a human experience. And unapologetically, when patient is expressing, we also should listen to that, and with respect, and without any judgment. So therapeutic listening is nothing but it is listening with compassion in a non-judgmental way, and listening with caring and kindness. Second one, it requires skills and simultaneously the sincere intention of the nurse to understand what concerns the patient. So it is your attention, observation, listening, and also honesty in observing the patient. To understand the patient only is not sufficient, but the nurse must also convey the message that he or she is understandable and acceptable. So consistency and dignity while we are communicating. It is a reflection of the knowledge of the participants, the way that they think and feel, and their capabilities. That is how, when it comes to privacy, confidentiality of communication. That is another important aspect. Communication assists in the performance of accurate, consistent, and easy nursing work, ensuring both the satisfaction of the patient and the protection of the healthcare professional. So here comes the frankness and confidentiality and how much of information you have to give. So even if you're breaking the bad news, how you have to go? Should you really feel? Because when you are breaking the, for here, accurate and consistent communication, accurate. So it should be on scientific evidences. It should be very objective. So you are communicating. Nurse communicates the same thing, doctor communicates the same thing, even, maybe a physiotherapist communicates. So this is what we call it as accurate and consistent. Everybody, there is a synchrony while communicating. So patient will not have confusion, and patient and family members will understand what we are trying to convey. The frankness and confidentiality is another one. So when it comes to confidentiality, we call it as being healthcare professionals, we have a lot of privileges. We call it as privileged information. As healthcare professionals, we have the access towards patient case records, their diagnosis, their treatment, and also, their personal life experiences. So we have to hold that with very high dignity, with mutual respect, and also confidentiality. The foundation of a strong therapeutic communication need to be based on, first thing, when this therapeutic communication can happen, that can happen only when there is a space of safety. Patient should feel that if I'm going to share this information with this particular staff or a nurse, whether I am safe, whether that is going to be breached. Highlighting the positive experiences. That is one thing which we all need to understand, is that we might see out of 100 things, 95 negative we might see, but a very optimistic and motivated, inspirational human minds will see what are those 5 positives. And we have to build the human potentials and experiences on these 5 positive experiences. Surely, the great is yet to come. That is how, it is that we have to make that build. Taking care of communication stuff. For example, if being a nurse leader, if I'm shouting at my nurse for none of her, or maybe I'm having short of information, but still I hear and I handle the situation in a very bad way. Maybe she is a good nurse, or she's an efficient nurse, or maybe she is a novice nurse, but I show my emotions on her, and she gets affected. So that gets projected. We all know that in psychology, how that projection happens. So we project our negativity on staff nurses project that negativity on patients. So that's how we have to take care of our nurses. We have to handle them with the same affection and dignity. Honoring healthcare workers. This is a very important thing. And it is nice to tell that, all are face of the hospital, but those faces also need to be taken care. And if they are happy, as Alibaba's founder said, employees first. Okay, employees first. So if employees are happy, they surely make the customers also happy. So the managements and top managements of the hospital today, there is a dire need for to make their hospital staff very happy. Okay, the happy employees will always bring happiness on the face of the customers, and the satisfied customer always bring more customers to your patient. So though the patient is the brand ambassador of a hospital, but a happy employee is the greatest ambassador of healthcare delivery system. Also, we have to build rapport and trust, having the conversation, responding to emotions, very important. Emotional intelligence is another huge topic, but emotional intelligence and social intelligence, it is much more valid than your other intelligences. So how we have to handle our emotions, especially, they say, when you are in public, mind your words. So when you are alone, you mind your thoughts and emotions. So we are what we think, and our emotions, there is a dire need to build on our resilience, on how to build positive emotional state. The new communication modalities need to move further in the arena on of how to perform, like, because of Corona, we have screening, we have preferencing, we have triaging, we have admitting of patient, counseling patients, deciding, resourcing, rationing, notifying, anticipating, and also when patients, they lose, patients are, dying, their family members, how we have to allow them to grieve also. So now, as I said, listening. When it comes to listening itself, again, it is a great topic, because when we were small, that was the first sensory organ that we developed. We listened to our mother's, father's lullabies. So when a patient dies also, the listening is the last sensory, the perception that, patient loses. That's why it is said that always you should speak good about the patient when patient is dying, though he is unconscious. So that's how listening is very important. And listening is what there are some principles when it is not that always you should develop a conversation, you should involve yourself in a conversation, not to just answer, but you have to listen. You have to listen to that conversation to respond, not to react. So stop talking, don't talk, listen. Prepare yourself to listen so relaxed mind can listen better. Put the speaker at ease. Okay, so when they are in that comfort and safety space, surely the greatest information which you are really striving to get, that will be at your side. Help the speaker to feel free to speak. Remove distractions. It can be physical, various other barriers. Focus on what is being said. So empathize. Try to understand the other person's point of view. You may have different view, but we have to agree with that. That is the great methodology of listening. Principles of effective listening. Another one is that we need to be patient. A pause, maybe even a longer pause, that doesn't mean that the dialogue has ended. Sometimes between conversation, pause is more meaningful than words. And we need to have ear to listen to that. Avoid personal prejudice. Try to be impartial, non-judgmental. So you may have your own prejudice. You may belong to a particular religion or a particular culture, or maybe, you might believe in some, the gender orientation of a person, but when you are really interacting with the other person, you cannot project your prejudice on the other, but it's very intimidating and it is very hurtful. Listen to the tone. Volume and tone both add to whatever other person is saying. Listen for ideas, not just words. You need to get the whole picture, not just isolated bits and pieces. So we have to use that, deductive methods in identifying bits and pieces. Patient may not be telling, but you should be smart, a very good communicator. As a nurse, you will be able to understand all these bits and pieces. You will put together, you will come to a conclusion. Wait and watch for non-verbal communication. Gestures, facial expression, and eye movements can all be important. So eye movements, how the patient uses his eye, it is said that eye is the mirror of our soul. So eyes, they express a lot. So if we can really, maybe, looking into the eyes may be sometimes intimidating, but observing eyes and the movement of eyeballs, that give a lot of information for us. So tested with time strategies to be adopted by nursing professionals for effective communication. One is that, maybe a phased situation specific. So phased means, for example, today you are breaking a bad news for the patient. So breaking bad news, surely we need to understand Kubler-Ross 5 stages of DABDA. So patient goes through maybe denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance as the 5th stage. So hence we need to understand which stage patient is. And if he is in anger stage, you need to accept his anger and you have to handle the situation. If he is in bargaining, then though you empathize with the patient, but you have to be consistent, accurate in your information with empathy. And also when patient is being in a state of acceptance, then we have to come to a decision-making part. Okay, multiple channels. Community first approaches. For example, this is very important during this community disaster pandemic time. Always we need to understand. So whatever strategies you are taking in Kerala, that may be different. And whatever we take, the strategies in Karnataka, it is different. In Tamil Nadu, it will be different. And in Maharashtra, it will be different. So it is very state specific, because how the community suffers and how the communication is being sent across, it is very, very community specific, and nurse need to understand this. So trusted and credible information sources. So gossiping and bringing, those type of information which are not authentic, it is not professional also. But whenever we talk to the patient, it need to be an authentic and trusted, credible information that should be shared. And community capacity and resources, that is very important, and strengthening the personal relevance of communication. So if I'm saying that, yes, I'm communicating this this diagnosis to you as a nurse. Maybe, I'm with the counseling session with the patient along with the doctor. So that is being recorded. So surely we need not hinder to, we need not feel bad, to share those type of information, because personal relevance. Who gave this information? Yes, Antonia gave this information, or Ajita gave this information. So that is how that relevance, personal relevance of communication to be given. Build self-efficacy and trust, because once the trust is breached, to build that trust is very difficult. That's why we need to build on that effective and integrated communication, and communication with vulnerable population. We all know that care of vulnerable patients and also prevention of falls being the 6th international patient safety goals. So vulnerable patients may be, antenatal mother, postnatal mother, pediatric population, geriatric population, and then, you have physically challenged, mentally challenged patient, you have disoriented, comatose, all these type of patients. How you have to communicate, that itself is a very interesting thing. And when it comes to communicating with child, and how I communicate with the neonate is different from how I communicate with an adolescent child. How I communicate with a toddler is different from how I communicate with a school child. So we call it as age-specific communication. And communication strategies are most effective when not based on misconceptions. That is how we need to be. That's why honesty in communication, integrity in communication, accuracy and consistency in communication, which fosters effective therapeutic communication in nursing. Plans should be made from the perspective of the targeted population. So if at all you are talking to a patient, or maybe a community, or maybe a particular set of people in maybe a township or village, then we have to make our communication based on that. Messages must be sensitive to and relevant to the audience. This is very important, because sensitivity in communicating, not because I know everything, I have to convey that. How much I have to convey, why I have to convey, how the recipient is, whether we have to look at their face, how they are containing that, how they are reacting, responding to that. If it is too much for them to take in, I think we have to stop it and make them maybe come to a particular state, and maybe tomorrow we can take up that communication. That's why breaking bad news always happens in stage wise, and the moment we break, their heart might break. That's why we need to be very sensitive.
Ma'am, you are mute. Ma'am, you need to unmute.
Only from now, or Dr. Aji?
Ma'am, I think for 1 minute it was mute.
Hi, I'm sorry. A lot of communication thing also is happening. I'm sorry. It is, but please, inform me immediately. And I'm on the mobile. Don't know why this is happening.
Now you are audible, ma'am. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you. So we are talking about nursing leadership communication. So even nursing leader, she has to communicate orally, verbally, written communication, also telephonic communication, email communication, and also the communication, what she has to pass it on in the boardrooms. So the ability to communicate effectively is an essential skill for nurse leader. Good communication skills are associated with better patient outcomes and higher employee satisfaction, because we know that very good communication, a very good human relationship. The moment the very good human relationships happen, people, the attrition rate, it is a directly proportional. The good human relationship always has a very positive
Excuse me,
impact
ma'am.
on. Yeah.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Your screen sharing is stopped, I think.
I'll go back again. Are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Carry on, ma'am. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you. So conversing with hospital leadership, that is very important because a nurse leader is an advocate for the nursing personnel and also patient care. That's why she would be willing to initiate discussions about her department and also foster interdisciplinary collaboration. Like how we said, communication is the amalgamation of, your communication helps you in effective coordination and also collaboration. So there's interdisciplinary collaboration by communicating frequently through emails or phone calls. That is also very important. This happens through effective. And we have seen that a nurse leader, one who really makes a very good relationship with other departments, surely, her nurse is also happy. Attrition rate is, this is how, maybe Western studies I'm talking about, but even in India, we are seeing that how attrition rate is related to a very good nursing leadership. So hats off to such type of very versatile and innovative, creative nurse leaders, and keep it up. Surely, that is a great example to follow for young nurse leaders. Demonstrate that one is a receptive team player by listening when others speak. So courage is nothing like that. Courage is not always what we speak. Sometimes, it is said that courage is also to sit down and listen emphatically what, other person is trying to say. That is, in the boardroom. Can you hear me, Aji, Dr. Aji?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Yeah. Okay. So other tips for communicating with staff is that sometimes the nurse leader has to communicate in group and one-to-one. So these one-to-one meetings with staff are also an ideal time to discuss negative feedback or when asking for honest information about the issues of concern to staff members. So this can be like one-to-one, you can use it as a confidential information. They need to be kept confidential, and these one-to-one interactions with peers are useful for comparing information among departments. For example, you need to have about one issue because, every issue will have three sides. One is your side, one is my side, another one is the actual side. So when you are really collecting the data, you are calling different people, but you will not call them in group. You will call them one-to-one, and you will have different perspective of the same issue so that you will be able to come to a important decision making. And while handling your nursing team as a leader, the nursing leader has to be receptive to staff input, because it is not just, experience makes, and also, these innovative and creative minds of novice nurses, they also will have beautiful and fantastic ideas. So how much we can listen to them, both of the positive and negative varieties. So we need to understand that they have the voice and they have the freedom to speak, and you are giving that comfort zone for the nurses to speak to you. So kindly listen to them. That is a very nice communication strategy nurse leader can do. And when they are speaking this, Soler, we have studied when we were studying our nursing, that, how you have to have, open posture, lean forward, nod, smile, encourage, these type of things, because it makes the person less nervous and also comfortable. And avoid making promises, some issues they might come with. So we never supposed to make any promises to the nurses. Instead, reassurance can be given, and also their concerns are noted and they are taken to an appropriate forum and discussed. And write down complaints and concerns, because that really helps us to follow up what actions was taken. So now this corona has made, a lot of communication strategies. There was a shift. There was a paradigm shift how we communicated with our patients pre-corona and post-corona time. So we started using physical distancing signs, barcode scanning devices, increased hygiene measures, negative stigma and discrimination against those infected with the people, those are nurses and doctors and other people, we had to go through. And that had a impact on nurses, because the nurses during that time, they went through post-traumatic stress disorder, these type of rejection and humiliation, especially though the society celebrated our contribution to corona care as frontliners, but there were instances where nurses and doctors were denied of their residence, and healthcare professionals were treated very badly by the community, and that caused a lot of negative impact, and they went into depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and PSTD. Usage of a digital stethoscope. Now, everything has become digitalized. I need not speak about it. And telehealth, telenursing, AI in nursing, robotics, usage of verbal, non-verbal communication, including physical touch, eye contact, gesture, silence, facial expression, posture, to develop the nurse-patient relationship. These are the basic strategies. These are the core of nursing care. However, the technology comes, with all due respect to the technology, but the human touch, which really brings healing to the body and soul of human mind, that can never be underestimated. So this allows for the expression of empathy, empathy that can be only rendered through human touch and our interaction with through social distancing, also through words, we can always express those covers. That's why words, they do have power. So active listening and reinforcement of mutual understanding and respect, that is very important. Usage of technology, the concept of caring may change, and virtual speaking may become more dominant than in-person interactions that we are seeing everywhere. Now it is virtual. But finding new ways to meet patient needs when face-to-face care is not an option. So the compassionate communication remain constant, whether it is direct or via the phone. So your tone can communicate all these type of vibes and emotions. The nurses can be, that's why telephonic communication is another thing. And virtual, when they are presenting also, now it has come virtual platform etiquettes. Now people, they need to know and how they have to speak. And that's why you were giving mute yourself and mute your video, and whenever questions are, now everybody is muted now, because so that we can have better interactions and better network. So these are sort of like disturbances. So we are evolving. Corona really has a lot of positive things also, that we are changed because of that. And rediscovering the basics of effective communication. Already we discussed those things elaborately. Expressing empathy without using facial expressions, that is another challenge. How are we going to, maybe that is now we started training our nurses without that therapeutic communication in the scenario of touch deprivation, how nurse can even communicate empathy and compassion and understanding to the patient. And empathy is the central core of effective communication. Nurses' verbal skills still, it need to be sharpened. And nowadays, because of novice nurses, it is a challenge now, because language barrier is another one, and then training the shortage is another side. So nursing leadership is posed with a lot of challenges. So still, despite of all these things, we have to move forward. So we need to identify ways to combat this. Barriers to effective communication to be considered, like usage of jargons, cultural and language differences, lack of attention, interest, and listening. And I have spoken about effective listening, meaningful silence, and therapeutic touch can never be underestimated. And I saw a picture where Brazilian nurses, they are using the gloves with water, and they are keeping between the hands of the patient, one who is affected with corona, just to feel that the human touch. This was viral in the social media, and you also can see that that is the this thing, one research innovation by nurses, Brazilian nurses, which was viral. So if you have any doubts, you can always ask. Please feel free to ask questions, and I will surely try to answer. And with all these challenges, we have to move forward. So moving forward is that modern nursing, whether it is traditional or modern nursing is destined, it's not just 200, it's again, it is evolving now with the, again, new policy in nursing, which is actually is a bill now. So we have to really look up to a lot of changes in coming days. So we have to equip ourselves when it comes to the communication skills, and also communication along with our nursing etiquettes for effective therapeutic communication by nurses towards patient care. So modern nursing as a service to humans, to realize that there is a need for dialogue and a good interpersonal climate that develops personally with each sick person, especially in our modern multicultural society. So that is very important. Nurses need to learn today how multicultural and cross-cultural international communication, and also whenever the gender orientation is different way, how they have to communicate with sensory deficit patients. These are the important things. That touch deprivation, social distancing, how they have to communicate with patient and families. It is a challenge ahead of us. The best expertise, training, and continuing education that surpasses everything, with very good strategies for our nurses in matters relating to the proper technique of communication, will enable them to respond adequately and humanely to the expectations of patient. Ultimately, who is the VIP of the any healthcare? It is our patient. So patient expectations need to be met. And who is the one who is spending the maximum time of a day? That is absolutely a nurse. So the nurse can be channel. Nurse is undoubtedly, she's a channel of this empathy and compassion to the patient. And it is said that the doctors treat and nurses heal. Every time I tell that is very important. That is very proud statement of being a nurse, and every nurse should see to that. There may be, as again I take that reference, communication, how much to communicate, whom to communicate, what to communicate, why to communicate, where to communicate. These type of questions still remain. But way forward is that we have to embrace the basics and build our communication strategies on these areas, like breaking bad news. Already I told you Kubler-Ross 5 stages of DABDA, and then how they have to handle different emotions of patients, how to handle difficult patient. And who is a difficult patient? Patient may be not speaking, patient is demanding, patient is shouting, patient is aggressive, patient is never satisfied, patient always targets one nurse. These type of patients, and where nursing leadership can take very good call on that. And we have to protect, and we have to motivate our nurses. Communication and difficult and challenging situation. Now what we are facing, it is a challenging situation only. Difficult, maybe we are facing, there may be a disaster, touch wood, maybe a disaster in the hospital. So how we have to handle them, how we are going to handle that situation with your nursing team, how we are going to make that patient care is not affected despite of all challenges we have. Crisis and emergency situation, vulnerable patients, patients with sensory deficits. So when we are communicating with blind patient, a patient one who is not able to sensory perception, okay, patient is not able to see, then how am I going to communicate? So this is very important for us to know. Can we shout for a deaf patient? Or can we just come from the back of the patient and speak to the patient? No, always it should be in a normal tone, to try to talk in the same language what patients speak, also in the normal tone, with respect, dignity, and at the level of the patient. Maybe these are the few things. And then we have communication boards, braille things for patients who are visually impaired, and writing boards. These are few things which we can really implement. And cross-cultural and international, because we are living in a healthcare scenario where it is a global village now. the nurse is posed with a lot of challenges, and she needs to understand these cultural differences and appreciate the similarities and these differences, because that is what make our universe very diverse one. And always nurse adds beauty in that particular zone. How to interact with interpreters, that is very important. For example, you may be having a patient from Middle East, so you may not know that language, or you may be having a patient from Nigeria, you may not understand their language. So if at all you have interpreters, even that, when nurse is actually communicating through the interpreter to the patient, even that skill our nurses need to understand. Age-specific communication, especially with children, that is very important. My dear friends and nurse leaders, I really would like to tell you a few things here with my experiences, what I have come across during this COVID time, especially the humiliation because of communication. It is not only what nurse communicates, also how nurses are handled in patient care area by various other healthcare professionals. They shout, or they belittle them. That has very negative impact on nurses, and they get into a very low mood and absenteeism rate and those type of things. So it is important for all of us to train our nurses how to handle this humiliation and how to train them in assertive communication. That is very important. Rejection is another important cause of that low mood is emerging, and isolation. They get into, sort of like maybe only one person in a particular language and they are isolated and they don't have friends. So they really go through a lot of things, and their work also, so all these negative feelings, they will have negative impact on patient care. Everything is projected at the patient care, patient bedside. So we need to understand and teach them how to handle this isolation, bullying, rejection, humiliation, how to handle failures. That is very important. We only tell about the success stories to our novice nurses. We have to talk about maybe a nurse one who failed, maybe, used to make a lot of mistakes, but with her consent, we can make her, come forward, arrange, a CNE session, how she learned from that failure. And so that failure becomes a celebration of success. And failure, we all make mistakes, but what is the beauty of mistake is that we become better. So that is very important. PSTD already I told you, and depression, addiction is another thing which our nurses speak, anxiety, panic attacks, therapeutic boundaries, then silence, touch, self-love and self-worth. So whenever somebody speaks to them in a very belittling them, they feel very low. So nurses need to understand they are very much worth, and they are serving the humanity with pride, and their care is very important to make the society. That is what is needed for our novice nurses. Fostering nursing leadership. Nursing leaders, they are doing very well, but also, your leadership is effective in your absence, how it is being, and how many people really they achieved their goals because of your leadership. How many people that you could motivate to achieve their life goals and they could become better nurses. I think that is one measuring yardstick we have to keep in our mind and consciously reflect on that. And appreciation and recognition, I told you, appreciation and recognition, these are the very, very good motivating factors and leadership theories. So nursing leaders need to practice this appreciation and recognition, because that boosts their morale. And other people also, they feel that, yes, I also can. Linguistic and cultural orientation during induction, that is very important. And if people are coming, for example, if I'm coming to Kerala, you should arrange a class for me to learn Malayalam. So if you're coming from Kerala to Karnataka, surely we should see to that you learn the language of the state, because you will have maximum patience in that particular language boundaries, so that nurses can have a very good working experience. This is what I want to say. And first of all, I would like to thank all my colleagues, nurses, for really, for their dedicated service and sacrifices, what they rendered during COVID-19 and also, during the second wave, that you really contributed for a better society, and God bless you. Thank you so much for your patient listening. And as Florence Nightingale said, I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuse. So this is what, the footsteps that we have, because challenges are many. And if you are, even Florence Nightingale was not liked by many. She had, great enemies, and but she was very she had that courage and conviction because she believed in her passion and her life goals. She wanted to make society better. So despite of all challenges that she had, she walked that path, and she has really created a very nice path for all of us. So let us take pride in nursing, and we have to take that. We should never take anything for, or we should never give excuse. Try maximum, the best, what we can do. I think the best is yet to come. So I would like to thank Annie and the Annie chapter Kerala, and specifically Madam Tangam Gomes and Ajita Nair and Dr. Aji for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. And it was really a very great experience for me to interact and to share, whatever little I know. And thank you so much. And Sarve Jano Sukhino Bhavantu. God bless all nurses everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation, wonderful speech. Communication, such a vast topic, never-ending topic. One can speak volumes, but you could cover almost all important matter within this 45 to 50 minutes. And I am so happy that you could, one of the most important doubt always the nurses had, that how to become an empathetic communicator. It is actually a challenge, and you could mention it. And then about the important aspects of emotional, social intelligence, compassion fatigue, everything. It was very good. I mean, it's a beautiful presentation, and we are lucky to have you here. Ma'am, I'll just ask the group if there is any question or query. Can I?
Yes.
This forum is open for
Hello.
discussion. If you have any.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am, and thanks for the nice session. I just want to say something. Like in communication, we have in first year the subjects communication, small portion.
Community health, yes.
Communication. What I feel is all the years we should follow 1 or 2 few hours for communication. Then we can do better. And this presence in a present situation, this is high tech and no touch. Here we are lagging. The technology has gone high, but students and as is not only students, staff, they're reluctant to have the. That is what I feel. The syllabus should include. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the elaborate session. Thank you. I'm Regina.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Regina. Yes, Lieutenant Colonel Regina, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am Tangam, your comment, please.
Good evening, everyone. I think the speed at which Antonio covered such a vast topic is really praiseworthy. I mean, I can do sections for 2 hours for one part of the section. But I've been training in communication for nurses now from 2012 dedicatedly into training and educating nurses who are actually working, not the students. So I understand the challenge because it's very easy to understand the theory of it, but very difficult to translate the theory into action. So somewhere there's a lot of heart required if you want to translate that theory into action. So the heart is where we need to target when we are trying to train people. So I think so beautifully you have covered the length and breadth of communication. It's so much in detail, and I really hope that it was such a vast topic but kind of summarized into this 1 hour, not even 2 hours, just about 50 minutes. That's a fantastic job. And I was thinking about various aspects. As I was thinking, your slide will come up. I'll say, oh, okay, Antonio is talking about that. Okay, then I'll say, okay, this is there. And the next slide will be with that only. Then I will say, okay, leadership. So the leadership also came in. So it's kind of very comprehensive. And I really compliment you for addressing that so much. And what I want to share here is not even that. After hearing to Antonio, I just want to urge all of you to think, what are you going to do about it? After hearing to Antonio, are you going to decide something to do about it, or just say, wow, that was a very fantastic Kerala chapter activity, very good, thumbs up and everything, and then I go back to doing the same thing? Whether I'm a leader, whether I'm a bedside nurse, I don't know. So I was thinking about listening, and that's that time Antonia's listening slide came up, and I said, so I think that is probably the weakest skill in communication. Even when we are very good with words, we are very good with body language, but we can be very poor in listening. And when we listen, we hardly learn anything. So Dalai Lama told once that if you are not listening, after some time, people will stop talking to you. That means you're not able to hear them. And then when you're hearing, there is a concept in nursery called whole body listening, whole body communication. In very small children, in nursery children, they are taught that how do you listen with whole body. That means when you look at somebody's eyes, what do you understand? When you look at somebody's nose, what do you understand? So they are taught like that. This is one of the communication skills by, I think there are many types of nursery training. I think one of the training, they have that. I used to use that picture once upon a time to talk about communication. But today I want to talk about something real that happened. So over a period of time, I learned that I should not be teaching any theory. I should be teaching tools. So I think there are a lot of evidence-based tools in communication in healthcare. So I'm not going to give a lecture on that, forget about it. Recently, my company, not as Annie, my company, we did a safety quiz. And one of the safety quiz on effective communication. So I'm going to share you the quiz result summary. So that is what I want you to think about it. And also I'm going to show you what Antonia was talking about, the gloves. You remember? She mentioned, so this is done by nurses in Brazil. You can see that. Can you see that on the screen? The two gloves, right? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see, ma'am.
Yeah. So this picture here, you can see here, there is a glove below the hand of the patient, and there is another glove on top of the hand of the patient. It's like somebody is holding the patient's hand, because nurses, they don't have time. So, well, I think even before COVID also, we were not getting better at touch. Let me be very candid about it. Now we have an excuse that we have COVID. We cannot touch the patient. So there is so much that we can do. And now with COVID, there is so much that we can think about. Is there something we can do differently to maybe just facilitate? My personal experience, when somebody gets admitted in the hospital, the most frantic calls I get is, we are not able to get through to the hospital and we don't know what is happening to my relative. Can nurses somewhere play a role to see that, whether that communication bridge can be created? Maybe just talking to the doctor, maybe talking to the administrator and telling that, we can volunteer to speak to the family, just to tell that this is what is happening. So there can be a process that can be set. And with the second, please do not misunderstand me. I salute all the frontline caregivers who went through this entire year battling COVID. And with the second wave coming, I'm seeing, whenever I call now, even some leaders, when I'm calling, they're saying, ma'am, sorry, I'm in quarantine. I mean, people are suffering. I understand that. But I think, as Antonio told, nurses are resilient. With resilience, can we be self-aware and say that, can I do a little bit more while I'm doing a great job? Can that be empathetically done? In any way, we are doing the work, but can we bring some heart into what we are doing? And probably this is the profession that can give the huge satisfaction, and also it can give the major innovation opportunities, very basic innovation opportunities. So I would like you to pay attention to the screen here. There were 533 responses to a 15 marks, quiz that I had given. So this is about the tools. One of the common root cause of patient harm due to communication error is, okay, only 50% of them could get the answer right. Communication tool to ensure correct patient education. I think all of us learned this in nursing, which is called teach back. Completely forgotten? The communication framework that is used for emergencies to avoid errors. And most of the nurses, you know, at least they would have done ACLS, they know that what is the tool that needs to be used. That is called call out. The communication framework that nurses use when for informing the doctor on patient's conditions. These are very clinical oriented, you know, communication tools, which if we don't know how to use it, the patient care will not be safe at all. So I'm just urging all of you that, you know, please reflect and see whether we are actually acting upon all the information or knowledge that we have, or when we attend webinars, are we actually deciding to do something about it when we step out? Maybe one thing within you or within your team. So this is what I would like to, you know, urge on today, because as Aji and everybody else says, you put communication out there, the theories of communication, the masters of communication, they will all talk about the same things. At the end of it, you and me decide, what am I going to do about that knowledge that I got? So my request is always that, you know, within my sphere of influence, how can I make my communication empathetic and meaningful to whoever is in front of us? You know, all that theory will come there. And Antonio, thank you so much for touching upon almost all the points that is required. It's a very, very good revision. And I was listening through it, you know, and every time my mind was running, and every time it's running, your slide will come up and I say, oh, okay, she's done that, she's done that, you know. So it's like
Telepathy.
the big vast, you know, topic was crunched into 50 minutes, you know, that's not very easy. So hats off to you, and thank you for everybody else here. And my request is only, please decide today that I'm going to do one thing different from now, because we came to Annie Kerala chapters, you know, webinar, and Antonio ma'am, you know, talked about this. So I think I'm going to do something about it. If you can do that, oh, बोलते हैं ना दिन साकार हो गया. So then today's day is fruitful. So thanks to Aji, who is the state chapter president, and Ajita, of course, is the national treasurer. And thank you for initiating this. And I think whoever came here, I'm sure that they all are going back from here with a lot of points to reflect upon. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ajita. Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, everybody.
Chapter, Kerala chapter.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We'll take 1 second, 1 minute. I hand over the mic to Lieutenant Colonel Amita Nase. She's the secretary of Annie Chapter Kerala for vote of thanks. Amita.
Right there.
Hello, am I audible, Aji?
Yeah, you are.
Good evening, all. I believe words have the power to change the world. I feel honored and privileged to deliver vote of thanks on Annie Kerala chapter for this session. Thank you, Annie, for a very thought-provoking, interesting, and very important topic in nursing. First of all, I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Ms. Antonia Ma'am, founder, Jyotirgamaya Foundation, for making an excellent presentation, making this session a very meaningful and interesting. As rightly said by Madam, a nurse who has courage, conviction, and can communicate very effectively will always be a very efficient and better nurse. Such beautifully placed lines, ma'am. We enjoyed every minute of your lecture, and we were feeling that we were traveling with our experience through your speech. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank Ma'am Thangam Gomez, President Annie, and Captain Ajita ma'am for joining us and giving their valuable time to make this session a success. Ma'am Tangam will try to make this communication empathetic and meaningful in some or other way, ma'am. I'd like to thank my good friend, Rafnigal Aji, for delivering such a beautiful introductory speech for our honorable guest. I would like to thank Shibida ma'am, Sujarita ma'am for giving your valuable time and joining us. I would like to thank my 4G friends for joining our session and making it a success. And lastly, and not the least, all my participants for their unwavering attention throughout the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amita.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
weekend rather. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.